by ready, I mean like we'll capture the silence.
Okay.
And then I'll pull this up, and then I'll do this thing.
From Provo, Utah, this is the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast with your hosts, Joseph DeGolier and Caleb Schweiss. This is Ultima Final Fantasy.
Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. I am your enunciation-happy host, Caleb.
And I am your
my sidekick,
delaying host, Joseph DeGolier.
And today we are finally going to be talking about Kingsglaive Final Fantasy XV. This is a movie that I have seen twice now. Joe has also seen twice.
I have also seen twice.
With many problems.
Yeah, with many problems. In fact, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to pull up the video. Schweiss, we've been talking about doing a Kingsglaive episode for like 4 weeks now,
right, and of course all the FF11 stuff that's been getting in our way. Not as much in our way as this Activate Windows Now thing, but in our way. And it's been a great thing. It's been good to get all the 11 stuff done, but we now have time to do Kingsglaive. And we threw up a poll on Twitter, and Kingsglaive was winning. I asked a couple people in person. They wanted to hear Kingsglaive, so it was the no-brainer choice over the 11.
I almost want to cock tease them, though. Like, to me, it's about, hey, we could do an 11 episode and then delay Kingsglaive a little bit and make them want the Kingsglaive review even more.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah. So to me, it was...
well, I also feel like that sort of a cock tease wouldn't be present in the FF11 stuff because no one cares.
I bet you there are some people who care.
Okay, there probably are some
In fact, there were some iTunes reviews mentioning our FF11 episodes. We've had correspondence with the people who found our found us through the FF11 episodes.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So I don't accept.
It's a different area. We've gotten a lot of Twitch followers off of FF11 as well.
Yeah.
So it helps.
All right, so I got a 30-second clip here of my experience for the first half of Kingsglaive.
Okay.
Oh, there it goes. Stops right there. Video stopped right before I pressed record as well. The loading screen on the PlayStation Video.
See how it goes.
This is real time.
This loading thing.
Hello there.
Then the video plays.
Good day to you.
And then it fucking
And
stops.
there it is again.
And there's the loading screen again. Jesus fucking Christ. I had to send you that video because I was telling, Caleb, I was like, dude, this thing is just not working for me.
Yeah. That's pretty bad. I don't know if I would have been able to do that. Like that's so slow. And the thing is apparently the internet up there sucks because they live in nowhere. But every other streaming service worked just fine for Joe, so he was able to go watch South Park with no
I can
problems.
watch South Park on Hulu nonstop. I've been rewatching Scrubs nonstop. Amazon works. Netflix works. But yet PlayStation Video, when I'm trying to go wirelessly to the PS4, and I guess because it's like it has to be an HD video, like it doesn't downgrade like Netflix does, it doesn't do the ping-back thing.
Yeah.
It'll stop after 5 seconds, it'll load, and then it'll play the next 5 seconds.
Nice.
So I had to take my cord from the back of my computer, like wrap it around my room and get it back into my PlayStation 4. And then it played okay. I think it gave me one interruption after that, but that was it. So the reason why this episode has been delayed is because last week I tried to watch Kingsglaive for the second time. I said I wasn't going to do a review unless I watched this at least twice. And it was giving me that problem. And you know what's bugging the shit out of me, Schweiss?
What's that?
Is that just 6 years ago, when you had a YouTube video that wasn't loading or even a Netflix video that wasn't loading, you could press the pause button,
And it would like buffer.
walk away for 30 minutes, and it would buffer it the entire time.
Yeah.
But now streaming services, for some motherfucking reason, all they do is buffer like the next 2 minutes.
Yeah.
They don't continue on. I thought it was going to work that way. I know it doesn't work that way for YouTube anymore, and it doesn't work that way for Netflix anymore, but I was hoping that PlayStation Video would work that way. So the first thing I did yesterday was I played Kingsglaive for about a minute, pressed pause, and walked away for 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Came back, and it played the next 5 minutes flawlessly, and then it stopped. And I was like, what the fuck? What happened to buffer? It was nice. It was like hey, this video will play eventually, despite my internet. I can walk away and come back, and as long as like there wasn't some pause screen that interrupted it, I will be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it had its problems too, but my God, another thing today, trying to burn a disc in Windows now is like a pain in the dick.
Yeah, it is.
Like you have to do everything manually, and before you could just like right click on a disk and say like copy disk or burn disk, and Windows would do that stuff automatically on Windows XP, but yet Windows 10, Windows 7 can't do it.
Yeah. You know, I think we need to take this all the way and make streaming great again. I think that needs to be our campaign. We need to bring this to Washington. Crack down on this anti-buffering lobbying that's been going on for years now.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous, the things these people are getting away with. But, yeah, no, so with Final Fantasy XI, we are done. We finished the final add-on scenario, the Crystalline Prophecy. It was a pain in the ass, but we'll get more into that next week. And have you started on Revenant Wings yet?
No.
Oh.
I looked at the charger and I looked at the DS, and I knew I needed to put them together.
And then you walked away.
And I said, next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I started it, and I've already played like 45 minutes or so.
Oh, sweet.
I've finished chapter 1, I think. I don't know if that really means what that means. I don't know how long it's going to be, but so far it's an interesting mix of something I don't know, and then tactics. It's like, it's odd. You get like an overworld view, and then you can like drag and select characters and like move them into position, and then they'll start like auto-attacking when the stuff gets there. So it's like tactics, but more real-time. I would say instead of turn-based, it's everyone's moving and you got to go quick. It's odd.
Okay.
It's odd, but the nice part is if you are getting attacked, so like the objective is most of the time the quests are like, hey, make sure Vaughn survives. So when I fought Bagamnon again, that psychopath Star Wars lizard guy in 12, he got wrecked the first time, so I died. I lost the game like a chump, and then I came back in, and then when Vaughn started to die, I actually just clicked on him and dragged him away and let everybody else
in the first
die.
45 minutes.
Yeah,
That's not a good sign.
no, it's not. And it was before you can even really grind for levels or anything. Like it was me just continuing on. Now I have access to the main map.
God
and
damn
the
it, don't
airship.
say things like that.
But just make sure.
Someone warned. They were like, "You're gonna hate this game."
Yeah, it's gonna be sick.
and
Be
I'm
prepared to
I'm
grind.
afraid, man.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it has kind of a similar feel to 10 as well, because there are certain enemies that certain characters do better against. So there's ground enemies, and then flying members of your party can hit them for more damage, and ranged enemies, you bring a sword dude in, and then magic for another. So it's kind of got like a rock, paper, scissors sort of counter system, similar to 10. I don't know how necessary it is, because I can still slaughter everybody with Vaughn, but I don't know.
I'm enjoying my time away from FF11 since it's done.
Yeah, it's nice.
Taking a breather. Like I was done with FF11 before when we finished Rhapsody's of Vana'diel, but then it was like, okay, I'll play it for another week,
Yeah,
and
turned into like 2 weeks.
turned into 2 weeks, but it was fine, and
Yeah.
it didn't feel. Now it is kind of just feel that for a second, Schweiss. We're not going back to FF11. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is nuts.
That's crazy.
I might do the Halloween quest that they have, just for the hell of it.
You have fun. I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to do a review for it either.
Hand out candy.
All right. Do you want to talk about Kingsglaive? Because this is a review episode, so we don't have to do news or questions or anything like that. We'll save those till next week.
Yeah, I suppose we best get into that.
Let's do it.
Welcome, Strike Knight.
What does that say? I can't read
It says PS4 has poor Wi-Fi.
No, PS4 has fine Wi-Fi. It takes everybody else's Wi-Fi and fucks with it. I think it pushes. I'm not sure what the technical term is, but it shoves all the other devices out of the way in order to hog all the internet. That's been my experience with PS4. I don't know how it does that, why it does that, but it is a pain in the dick. We're gonna go grab some coffee. I don't know. Schweiss, is that stuff done? Me. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to skip until Schweiss's head comes back into the frame. That's the problem.
It sucks because
Might as well get all 3 flavors of Mountain Dew.
yeah,
By the way, that pitch black one is gross.
it's black.
Yeah. It's like the grape one.
Yeah, you don't like it?
No. I liked the new orange one, but I'm not big on all 3 of them. Okay, I'm ready. Ready when you are. What does that say?
It says, Joe, you will hate Revenant Wings, lol.
Thanks. I'm excited now. Maybe I'll quit the show just because of that.
Yeah?
I'm done. All right. I guess you got the intro.
Yeah. So, Kingsglaive Final Fantasy XV is a 2016 computer animated fantasy film directed by
Computer
Takeshi
animated?
Nozue. Yeah.
Oh, computer. Yeah, you had a weird pause there, so I was like, it's a computer game? Computer? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, computer animated. Gotcha.
Yes, very CG heavy.
It's
And by
only
heavy,
CG.
we mean entirely.
It is
yes.
entirely. It was there live. There were some moments where I was like, "Is that live action?" But
It does look really good. So it's directed by Takeshi Nozue and written by Takashi Hasegawa. Produced by good old Hajime Tabata, our good friend. The film was developed by Visual Works, which is Square Enix's CGI studio. It's obviously connected with the Fabula Nova Crystallis subseries and is meant to get everyone stoked for Final Fantasy XV, since it was created as part of this multimedia rollout for the game. The film began production in 2014 by the same team that brought us Advent Children, so keep that in mind when we're going over.
yeah, but it wasn't the same director, was it?
Oh, it was.
Oh, it was.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I
Kingsglaive-
couldn't remember the name of the director.
Kingsglaive uses discarded ideas from the original Final Fantasy XV story, while also creating a separate experience and plot. Square Enix brought in multiple external studios to kind of get the project done in time. And I'm talking like 15 plus studios, like a shitload of people.
Oh,
working on this
really?
thing. Yeah, it's crazy. So the story sort of takes place on this world called Eos, and it's very Earth-like in almost every way, except for the monsters and magic and just about everything else. The planet's divided into multiple nations that each once held magical crystals, which of course sounds very familiar to us as Final Fantasy players.
Yeah.
The Kingdom of Lucius is currently the only nation that still holds their crystal, and they use it to defend themselves via a gigantic magic barrier.
Okay. There's 2 walls. There's a wall within a wall, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had no idea, like, I didn't understand that concept when I was watching this movie last night and taking notes, by the way. There's a wall within a wall, but I'm not sure if the first wall is a magic wall or a real wall. I have no idea. But they get past the wall later on, and that lets them into the kingdom, so
Yeah.
I assume the first wall was the physical wall, and the second wall was a magic wall, or maybe there was, like, a double-layer magic wall, but both of them broke.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
Well, we see the magic wall get penetrated early on.
Yeah, but they talk in the beginning of the film. They say 2 walls.
Well, we know who got in their kingdom. So recently, the militaristic empire of Niflheim has been kind of conquering nearby nations and is at war with Lucius. Lucius is protected by the Kingsglaive, which is an elite unit that uses the royal family's magical powers. The movie starts out with King Regis accepting terms of peace from Niflheim, and Regis must cede the territories around the crown city Insomnia to Niflheim. So he's basically throwing everyone else under the bus to keep his town. And he has to marry his son, Prince Noctis, to Luna Freya, the former princess of Tenebra, another place that we have no context of that was also taken by Niflheim.
No context, Schweiss. How dare you?
Yeah. Yeah, no shit. So things kick off with a flashback kind of showing King Regis and Noctis visiting Tenebra. Niflheim attacks the kingdom in an attempt to assassinate the Lucian royal family. During this assault, the queen of Tenebra is actually killed by Imperial General Glauca. Regis tries to leave with Luna Freya. Yeah, but she decides to stay behind with her dipshit brother Ravus, and they become subjects to Niflheim's
You mean
rule.
the Kingslayer?
Yeah. I mean, they should have had that guy voice him.
Yeah, they should have. He should have. Yeah, Ravus is really just Jamie.
Yeah, he's a douche. So 12 years after this, the Kingsglaive fight to protect Lucius's borders from monsters and Niflheim and Tenebrae. So during one of these operations, Nyx defies his orders to withdraw from his commander, who is a slightly altered version of what is that voice? What is that guy's name? The guy who voiced fucking Mammoth and
Ray Romano?
Ray Romano, yeah. This guy sounds like a mix between Ray Romano and someone much more masculine. So it's like just barely not Ray Romano, and it makes me laugh so much.
You're talking about his commander?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That guy, they should have had Gerard Butler voice that guy, is what they should have done. They should have had Gerard Butler voice him, but they didn't. They didn't, and they fail. Anyway. So yes, he's trying to rescue his buddy Libertus from one of Niflheim's daemons, which is what Joe
It's
is
a demon.
fond of calling them. Is it a demon?
It's a demon. We looked this
Is that
up.
what it is? No,
we
I know.
looked this up like 2 episodes ago.
I know. I'm making fun of you.
And I had the subtitles on when I watched it last night.
Did it say demon?
It said DAEMON in the subtitles when the guy 2 minutes into the movie goes, "Release the demon," and then the giant weapon thing is released.
Yeah.
Which is maybe the corniest reading of a corny line ever.
Yeah, there's some oddness to the voice acting in this for sure. Not everything transferred over quite right. But let's see. Anyway, so essentially, this is where things kick off, and Niflheim is demanding that Lucius kind of surrender. And by surrendering, like I said earlier, they're basically giving up every other city, all the outliers, which sucks because they got everyone from those areas. They're the individuals that are in the Kingsglaive. They're the people who lived in these shitholes outside of the main town. And so that kind of causes a sort of a big divide within the Kingsglaive. There's a lot of people that are really upset with the king, and they just can't stand him for doing this because he's basically throwing away their homes to make sure that his remains safe and then his son remains safe. And they feel like that's kind of, not cool since he's a king and not just a dad. He's got they're all his children in a certain odd way, right? So we also, this is when we get that one girl, what is her name? Crow. This is when Crow was sent out on Crow was sent on a mission to bring Luna Freya to Lucius, and is killed en route by a rapist van. She's like pulling up in her little motorcycle, and then there's this van out there. Done. Yeah. Yeah, it's bizarre, and we don't really have any sort of connection to her at this point necessarily. She has this weird gift, this tiara for the princess that she's going to give her. It probably stops like stone or something. It's probably some useful tool. But
I have no idea. But
she's killed, so because of this, I mean, Libertus and her were really close, and he gets super pissed, and he leaves the Kingsglaive and joins this group of rebels, okay? A group of Lucian rebels. They're like these conspiracy theorists that chill in a fucking arcade. Yeah. That's where they're at. They're in the basement of an arcade. hanging out, and they're like, "Oh, welcome to the resistance, brother." And I'm like, "What fucking resistance? There's like
How did
five
he find
of you."
them as well?
Yeah, like what? What do they have flyers out? Is
They
this like a
must.
complete free state? Everyone's like, "Well, if you want to try to rise up, go ahead."
I got problems with that, but I assume we'll just finish your overview of the story, and we'll get into the nitty gritty of this thing.
All right. So yes, he joins the rebels, and we then cut to a little party dedicated to the peace treaty. The King Regis and Niflheim's emperor, his name is Ledolus Aldercapt. We kind of get them and their little banter back and forth, and Lunafreya meets up with the Nyx and finds out that her buddy's dead, or that Nyx's friend is dead, our good pal Crow. And she feels really bad about that, but I don't know, she has about as much context as we do for her, so I can't really believe that she had that much going through her mind at that moment. I mean, it sucks that someone died for you, but come on. So Nyx discovers...
There's a lot of dying for other people in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
It's like FF4, but where they actually die in this. So it's interesting, yeah. So, Lunafreya also gets abducted by Glauca, but we don't see this at the moment. She's just kind of missing for a little while. Nyx discovers that she has been abducted, and Niflheim has stationed their army outside Insomnia. Regis allows them to deploy the Glaive, even though their commander, Ray Romano, has disappeared. And Nyx goes after... Okay, this part really bugged me. Nyx goes after Lunafreya, rescues her. A ton of people die. There's a huge mutiny, and the Kingsglaive basically turns on itself, and they're just goring the innocent members of the Glaive. There's this fucking resistance from a couple of them who are just totally pissed off at the king and trying to ruin everything. Also, this part bugged me because it was so obvious, so very obvious, that they were trying to divert everyone to this other location. They wanted them to join up. They wanted the Kingsglaive to go out and leave the king's side and go try to rescue Lunafreya. Like, it was painfully obvious. And one of the people was even like, what if it's a diversion? And then Nyx was like, no. Can't be a diversion. No, these guys are... No, I can't. We can't do it. And then we also... So within this ship, we have our good friend Ultros as well. This is where he makes a sweet cameo.
Yeah.
In the film, he's monstrous. He kills a bunch of people and
then is stabbed by a radio tower as he falls to the ground.
In a crazy kill. Like, just... If you think Transporter is ridiculous, this is like beyond that. They're like, all right, he's on the thing. We're going to spear him with this tower. And they do it, man. They do it like champs. So anyway...
I'm surprised Nyx isn't part of the Air Force with that flying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how he would ever have gotten that good at flying if he's not in the Air Force or some sort of cross-training program that they have.
Cross-training?
Right.
That sounds like CrossFit.
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, Lunafreya being abducted and rescued by Nyx after they escape Ultros's grasp by goring him. They also, you know what, the ship they're on, the ship they used to escape, they just like jumped off of. They just like, all right, well, we don't need this anymore. And they jumped off the ship, and it's what, gonna go crashing into the fucking town? Like, all those innocent people. Like, what is this? What in God's name?
His job is to protect the princess. That's the whole thing.
Fuck the rest, I guess.
Yeah, fuck the rest of them.
Fuck the rest. So this is where they meet up with King Regis, who is under attack by...
King Regis!
Yeah, King Regis is being attacked by Glauca. During this fight, Glauca cuts the ring of the Lushai off of King Regis's hand, which is fucking nuts. He just like slashes his finger off.
It's pretty much the opening scene of Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah. It's Sauron losing his ring. Sauron has an awesome...
At least there's no like gross finger that he like picks up.
And it like crumbles away.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet. And then the ring gets bigger this time because that guy's way more massive than King Regis. So, yeah, he cuts the ring off. A dude tries to put the ring on. Ravis is his name, but it rejects him and like burns him into a crisp, right? Mm-hmm. This is when they retrieve the ring and they are basically trying to escape the city. It's Nyx, King Regis, and Lunafreya. They've all met up and they're trying to escape. They go underground. King Regis essentially forces the other two to go on without him and like puts up this shield barrier. And
God. Okay, so this is a big problem I have with the movie is that they make that sacrifice into nothing. So the king puts up the barrier.
yeah.
And he allows the others to escape, and then the king gets killed by glaucoma.
Yeah.
And
Horrible way to go.
And then glaucoma just eventually catches up to Nyx.
Yeah.
And then they have to fight anyway.
Yeah, it's holding them off for just like a little bit.
And our dear man who joined the resistance does eventually help Nyx, and Nyx puts on the ring himself, and the gods or whatever that he sees in the other world when he puts on the ring.
Yeah, it's the past kings of Lucii.
Yeah.
And that part I thought was awesome. But
Yeah.
these guys are complete assholes, though, by the way. Because
I wrote down in my 8 pages of notes, they're fucking dicks.
they're like, you know what? We'll let you use our power. Sure, we'll allow it.
They shouldn't have the ring. They should have never had the ring. They're assholes.
Yeah, King Regis is like the only nice guy that you heard in there. Everyone else is just a total prick. Maybe it's because they've been dead forever and they're bound to this fucking ring that everyone keeps trying to put on. And they're like, we're not letting you have it.
Just eternally in this low lit blue room.
Yeah, I mean, there's like what, 2 or 3 people that get charred to death putting this fucker on. They're like, no means no. You can't use this fucking ring. How many of you are gonna try this, right? So essentially, we find out that Glauca is Ray Romano, his character. They're the same person, which is kind of dumb. But he's also upset at the king for casting everything down and only concerning himself with his own safety and his son's safety. And this is when Nyx puts on the ring. And he meets up with the past kings that are all attached to this ring, and they basically want to throw him under the bus because he's some fucking foreigner scum, right? Mm-hmm. And then, of course, King Regis, being the outstanding, guy he is, says, you know what, no, this guy's cool, guys, we can let him have the power. We're just gonna have to fuck him over a little bit afterwards. And
just
then
a
it's
little
fine.
bit.
Yeah,
We're gonna have to, blow him up.
Yeah. So so he gets the power, he goes on, he fights Glauca, they do this epic fight, and the whole time all this is going on, the daemon, who is, as far as I can tell, who, as far as I can tell, is like Emerald Weapon or one of the weapons from FF7. It looks just like it. It's cool.
Yeah, they release him at the beginning and at the end. They release the demon.
Yeah, and he's while Nyx is fighting with Glauca, the demon is fighting with the statue of the kings of past, and it's like this.
Yeah, that part was the coolest part of the movie.
Yeah, it was actually really cool, and like basically what they were doing, it was all matching up. Yeah. So Nyx would...
It's very visually awesome.
Nyx would beat down Glauca, and the statue would also do a killing move on the daemon. And so essentially, because they allowed him his power, or their power, Nyx, there's consequences that he's going to be turned to stone at the end of this. So he beats Glauca. Glauca tries to go off and die in peace, but Nyx just won't shut the fuck up. And so they have more dialogue, and eventually Nyx he turns to stone, and Luna Freya meets up with our friend Libertas, and they kind of just escape. And there's like a great chase scene where Libertas is trying to drive away from the people who mutinied from the Kingsglaive.
Yeah.
And then, so him and her are together, and the movie basically just ends with Luna Freya walking off to... leaving with the ring and gonna go find Noctis, essentially. And
then we find out after the credits, Noctis and them are going to find her.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun, right?
All right, so I got some issues with this movie. Let's and some very good things to say about it as well.
Okay.
So let's not alienate our entire audience, but let's get
Only
into
half of you guys can...
Let's get into the nitty gritty.
All right.
Sorry, the batteries are low.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Like very low.
Why would you do this?
Why would I do this?
Yeah. All your podcasts, your Godzilla, get in my way.
Didn't you record Super Sexy?
No. We don't record that. It just happens. It just uploads somehow.
Let's hope this one has more charge.
I'm sure it will.
does for now.
Yeah, 5 diamond weapons being flown in.
Okay. So hopefully you can follow me. I know that it took you I know it's been like a week since you've seen this movie.
Oh, it's been like 3 weeks.
3 weeks. But yeah.
Okay. All right, Joe. So I know you wrote down pages of comments while you were watching this last night. I mean, you had the time, given the fact that you had to buffer every 2 minutes.
For the first chunk of the movie, yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
Second chunk of the movie, I did start just pausing and writing things down.
Oh wow!
If I felt like there was a big section I needed to go into, but this is going to be a very, very detailed review. I will say that as an overall thing, if you haven't seen the movie yet,
don't listen to this.
First of all, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to listen to it.
Yeah.
I do not think that it works as a movie, but as a Final Fantasy fan, I think it has a lot going for it. That's a lot of fun and totally worth your time.
All right.
So the first thing that we get in this movie is like a gigantic, a lot of exposition.
Yes.
In 3 minutes, but yet we didn't get any of that exposition because it was wall-to-wall talking from Luna Freya, who's voiced by Cersei, right?
Yeah.
I forgot her.
Lena Headey.
Lena Headey, that's right. And so once again, we have a magic empire versus a machine empire, which of course we've seen in other Final Fantasy games before. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting thing that we're exploring again, but this is kind of like on steroids. We have a magic empire that is pretty technologically advanced.
Yeah.
And then a machine empire that is like, they're fucking it's not home from Final Fantasy X. It's not steampunk. This is like super robots. And these giant, of course, they use the diamond weapons, right, from FF7. The giant robots are fighting their battles, basically, for this other empire.
Yeah, this is Terminator. That's what these guys are.
Yeah, that's crazy. So it's extra. It's not just what we've seen in Final Fantasy before, but it's like it's more than that. I do want to say
that's what one of the Twitch guys said. And I was thinking that too. Just think
S-Star.
Extremely futuristic.
Oh yeah.
FF8. It's that big of a jump in that world too. It's like we got these shithole towns, and then suddenly robot guys.
Yeah, and right off the bat, in the context of the movie, I think they did something that they shouldn't have done. First off, they always talk about this character named Noctis, and you shouldn't, frankly, but because this movie came out before the game came out, it's kind of weird that they're always referring to a character, Noctis, that we don't see until the end credits.
Yeah.
And there's no way of knowing what the fuck Noctis looks like before the end or anything like that. And one of the biggest problems I have with this movie is that the bad guys, right, the evil empire, whose name I just escaped me, Niflheim wants Luna, Freya, and Noctis to marry.
Yeah.
And so does the king, and so does everybody. Where is the conflict here? Every single person is going, Luna Freya needs to marry Noctis. Now, the Empire might have done that to, like, get Luna Freya into their grasp, but they already had Luna Freya. Were they trying to get Noctis to meet her? What the fuck was the Empire trying to do besides take over that town? And why did they have to use their wedding? What the fuck was what was the catalyst? Why the wedding?
Coup.
It doesn't make any sense, Schweiss. It literally makes no sense that these bad guys, they want this wedding to happen. And at the end of the movie, you know what's still trying to happen?
The wedding.
The wedding. It'd be different if the movie was like, if Luna Freya didn't want to marry Noctis, or like Luna Freya was some bad chick and Noctis was a good guy or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were being forced to marry across, warring states, but it wasn't like that. It was bizarre. It's bizarre. It's almost like the same plot issues I had with FF13, where the one guy was getting in the way of everybody else when what he wanted them to do
Was what they did
all along throughout the entire game.
Yeah, Bartandalus for life. Old man Barty.
Old man Barty.
Yeah, he's alive and well in this, clearly.
Yeah.
Same universe, right?
I think, yeah, technically it is the same
Fabula
universe.
Nova Crystallis.
The music is pretty sweet, and we start off right off the bat in the movie with pretty darn good music.
Yeah.
Now, some of it's pretty standard. Some of it comes from the game itself that we've heard, and other little pieces from other Final Fantasy games.
Yeah.
I think the music was really well done, and the animation for the vast majority of the time is amazing.
Yeah, there are certain scenes where it looks like a real person. Like, it just does. It's normally not one of the main people, which is odd to me, but, like, there's a messenger, some bald guy comes in, and he looks real. Like, I'm like, man, that's crazy. And he's a little bit further away from the camera, so maybe that's why
I remember, like, 5 minutes into the movie, there's a shot where just a car is moving past the camera, and I was like, Jesus.
Yeah, it looks just like a car.
Like, either our movies are just getting more and more CGI, so we just think it's real, that's actually probably the case. But,
yeah.
I mean, this looked amazing. This car looked amazing. There was one part where we were watching a cartoon on a television show, and we first see the cartoon, and it's like a regular cartoon, and then we back up, and then it's a TV next to a window. And I honestly was like, did they just do that as a live action shot? And of course it wasn't, but it looked really great.
Yeah.
Now at the same time, I could kind of tell when you said that they brought in 15 studios to help with this movie near the end to push it, I assume is what they were trying to do. There were some parts that were not as well animated as others, and some parts where the detail in the models or the movement of the animation was not as strong.
Yeah.
One scene in particular that looked really kind of shitty, and it wouldn't have been shitty for 1999, but it is shitty for now, when the scarab beetles attack when they're in the office building hiding from all the machines coming after them. I thought the scarab beetles looked like shit. Like, they looked really bad. And, like, their movement was unnatural and everything like that. But, that's kind of a minor thing in a movie that looks incredible. If you haven't seen this movie before, Advent Children, of course, looked amazing when it came out. That was probably around 2006, I think.
Something like that.
But this is less on the anime side. It's even more realistic, and it looks great.
Yeah, I didn't really have any issues with the animation in this film. I thought it was very well done, and it's crazy what they can do with a budget that's, we don't know. I guess we don't really know necessarily what the budget is. They're kind of looping it all in with the game.
I assume it's not $100 million budget.
I would say probably not. I don't think they're ever going to do that again, ever. But it's pretty incredible what you can get done, and it's for the most part everything did look great. There was you can tell they obviously mapped an actual Audi for this thing, and they put the Audi in, and there's some interesting stuff in the movie. There's the Audi itself, and then there's like an Audi ad out in the distance on one part, and I'm like, Jesus, dude, what?
It's the product placement, man.
I know, and this game's going to be huge on that. It's going to be huge on product placement, which I don't.
Huge.
I don't.
It'll be tremendous.
Yeah. There's going to be Trump Tower in there, and it's going to just be way over the top. No, but it's one of those things that I don't really know how I feel about, like, product placement in media.
In a game?
It doesn't seem...
in media overall?
Well, in a game. In a media overall, it's like, whatever.
We've seen product placement for a long time.
We have, but sometimes it's just so over the top. Like, there's I can't remember what the survival horror game was. It was like, it was something where a dude was in the woods, and it's really interactive, but there's a part where he like pulls up a Coke can, and it shows the Coke can for like 5 seconds. It's just like, hey, this is Coca-Cola. Look at that. Look at the Coke can. All right, now we can move on. It's like, Jesus, dude. It's just so in your face, but with this game it does make a little more sense because they're trying to mesh Final Fantasy with reality. But it doesn't necessarily need to be our reality. So the cup noodle thing, the Audi thing, it's just like, it's odd. It's bizarre to me. But I can definitely tell they put a lot of work into making everything look great, especially that car, and I want it. But there's only one.
So after the prologue, we randomly go into these Kingsglaive guys. So something that's really odd about that beginning 3 minutes where she's just talking about the kingdoms, which by the way, we never have the same problem in FF13. We never get a wide shot that or a map or anything in the beginning of this movie that goes, this is Tenebra, this is Niflheim, this is we don't have a visual sort of overview so that we can understand where we are in the context of the movie later on.
Yeah, even
that bugged the fuck out of me.
Even FF12 does this, where you see the intro where it's this big war that is completely out of context because we have no idea what's going on. But then we get that one guy, his little overview of the Ondor, and he says, hey, this is where this is where you are, and then bam, we go. We know where everything's getting attacked, and it's a similar situation. It's an imperialistic society taking everything over. And you see where they're at and where they're coming. But in this, it's just, yeah, you're right. It's just straight up well, this place fell. And it's well, how fucking close is that place? Where's Tenebra? Is it 50,000 miles away? Do I care? How long is it going to take him to get here? Sure, the fall of democracy is horrible, but I need to know how safe my buddy Nyx is and how safe King Regis is.
I got a note on here that says Crow Girl is smoking hot.
Yeah. She kind of reminds me of Fang in 13 a little bit.
She's not that good looking, but she is. She's more realistic looking, so it's that looks like a real person for a second. So I'm quite attracted to Crow. But the first thing that Crow is doing with a group of mages, I think, is they're I never figured this out, by the way. They're making a tornado thing. It doesn't work. I have no idea what the significance of the giant tornado spell is.
They were trying to take down the beast with the tornado.
Is that what they were trying to do? Because it doesn't. Okay, it doesn't
honestly,
really work.
To me, for a second, it kind of reminded me of FF14, where the mages are casting to protect the kingdom.
Yeah, but I know what's going on in FF14.
That's true. You know that they're casting Shell and Protect to block incoming attacks. In this one, kicks in.
They're making a giant tornado thing. Release the demon, and they're we're trying.
Yeah,
and I'm what are they trying to do? I have no idea. And we got a diamond weapon, which looks amazing. We see him twice in the movie, which they call the demon, and it's diamond weapon on steroids. It's sides open up, and it's got these Neon Genesis Evangelion orbs, and they're super powered. And
it's
honestly, it's reminding me of the new Godzilla movie where Godzilla opens up and then shoots everywhere.
Yeah,
it's
similar.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool light show. And we got what's his name? The kind of chubby guy.
Libertus. Yeah, a fat guy in a Final Fantasy movie. That's bizarre.
First thing that happens, and it kind of gives our hero a chance to act, I guess. First thing that happens, a gigantic rock falls on this dude's leg.
Oh yeah,
that fucking leg should be gone.
Yeah, that thing should be
fucking shattered. There should be no more leg, and yet he's in a cast and walking later on.
Yeah, that thing should have been a meat waffle, dude. That should have been crushed. Sure, it was. It's slowed down.
It was a 2,000-pound boulder fallen from the sky.
Right. And then, but you know what? You know what they did? They did gaming and movie logic where they're okay, it hits, and then it kind of slowly rolls over, which reduces the impact. You know what? No, it doesn't. It's still a 5-ton boulder coming down on your leg, whether it's an inch above your leg or a foot above your leg. Your leg is going to be fucking smashed. And you're going to bleed out because your artery is just severed.
And his reaction to it is understated, to say the least. First of all, he shouldn't have had a leg. He shouldn't be stuck. Maybe his skin is stuck under there, But
and he's got to cut the skin off.
Yeah, maybe that. But it's disintegrated past the knee. That's what it is. So he he should be screaming nonstop.
Yeah.
Like, at pitches that you didn't think that man could ever hit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude. Oh, just the idea of a boulder that size smashing your leg.
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
But he's fine.
Yeah. I mean, he
They
broke
must
it.
have like the magic armor from King Regis protecting his leg, I guess. But
Yeah.
it doesn't. That should kill him. With at least, if not just the shattering of his leg, like the shock
Yeah.
of the leg being shattered. One of Nyx's first line is just like Glad Canyon back home. I may as well have said it'll be just like Beggar's Canyon back home, which is a line from Star Wars.
Yeah.
Which I noticed, like, when I watched this movie the first time, I was like, fucking, they ripped that line off from somewhere, and I had to find it.
Well, of course it was Star Wars. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and so they're fighting this big battle, right? And then the Imperial forces just go away. They withdraw.
Yeah,
And they didn't know why they withdrew. And later on, of course, all the political intrigue happens. But nothing ever actually tells you why the fuck they withdrew.
Well, they withdrew to give him a chance to offer peace. They were basically like, hey...
They were winning the battle, and they didn't need to do that.
Well, they wanted to win with, I guess, subversion. They wanted to, like, give him the illusion of peace and get in the city and then destroy him from within, kind of a thing, instead of bursting through.
They had their demon working at all the magic.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess...
It's like it was at that moment that their king decided that, oh, no, we shouldn't go in there today.
Well,
Or stop the battle midway. I mean, we just won it, but, you know, bring him back. Bring him back for a second. It does, the retreat makes no sense.
Well, I mean, I think it was more of a, we will crush you, we want you to surrender, but we're still going to fuck you over. So I don't know, maybe just outsmarting him in every way, which he ends up essentially doing. I mean, yeah. Other than Noctis not being there, like everything else fell into this dude's plan, this Imperial Dickhole's plan. Colonel Sanders is what I call him. That's what he looks like to me.
He does look like Colonel Sanders.
Colonel.
That's good. No, that's good.
A lot more badass than I thought. It's not all chicken.
Something that bugs the shit out of me about this movie, and it starts in this scene when we first see Nyx. Every single person calls Nick hero or Nick's hero.
Yeah, it's kind of like that thing in Crisis Core where the like follow your dreams. Like they just overdo it. It's like
No one. First off, no one in the English language, like no one speaking the English language, calls other people hero like that.
yeah,
Like a nickname.
yeah, it's bizarre.
And then some people use it in a patronizing way. Like, we don't need any of you around here, huh, hero?
Yeah,
And it's like the movie is begging us to call Nyx hero.
it shouldn't have to say that though. It shouldn't need to address the fact that he's the hero of the story. Well, we know that he's the protagonist.
But people have to say he's hero over and over and over again.
Yeah, that is something that is bizarre.
It's so weird.
I do want to point out that in 13 they use hero a lot. Our buddy Snow is always talking.
No,
about
he does use hero
And
a lot.
Balthier does in a way. He says he's
You're
the
right.
leading man, but that's different. That works. That works with his
It's like a
character.
callback
It
to
works.
something, or this is my story. Even that works.
Yeah,
despite how
yeah.
It's definitely not your story, Titus. But this, the calling someone hero,
Yeah.
it's weird. I don't even know what to think about it. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's one of those awkward things like shilly shally dilly dally. Like
Yeah, dilly
don't-
dally, shilly shally.
I don't think it's quite as weird as that, but it is odd.
First thing I noticed is that we got Sean Bean's deep manly voice on this
Yes.
King Regis guy, who, although in the anime he looks pretty like buff and masculine and old man strengthy.
Yeah.
In this movie, like we get a close up of him
He's
that
a
I
pretty
didn't
small-looking
notice
guy.
in the trailers. He is a tiny, frail, ghostly man.
Yeah, and I mean we
with these like
understand.
piercing owl eyes.
Well, we understand why. I mean, the crystal is draining his life force essentially, but this movie doesn't explain that. The anime explains that, so it is weird. And I feel like his voice, while I do love Sean Bean, it did feel a little disjointed at times. And it was only sometimes. Most of the time, I think the Sean Bean voicing him was perfect. But I do see what you're saying. I mean, we got him as, Ned Stark. He's a big dude, right? He's a stocky man. And then we get him in this movie, and he's needs to eat, frankly. I mean, he's like dying. So it's a little odd. Like the first time he starts speaking to me, I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I was super stoked when I watched that Uncovered thing, but now this seems weird.
Like tiny little frail man.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of armor to make up for it, I guess, from a wide shot perspective. That close up on his face, though, the first close up on his face, I was like, oh my god, he's sickly looking. So our heroes, we try the movie tries to have some character development in the first act. The first time, of course, after the battle, they go and meet at this restaurant.
Yeah.
And
I was hoping it was going to be the red light district. But
there's this pretty terrible Bollywood music in the background, which is my only note for that. It was just bad music. And I was like, is this supposed to be like hip? And they're all from the same place. They're all from Tenebra. So like, is this native Tenebra music? Is this like what people listen to? I don't understand that. And then we get a close-up shot of the guy whose leg was shattered.
Yeah.
We get a close-up shot of his pill bottle.
Yeah, Libertas.
Yeah.
This is they're like making you feel bad about taking painkillers. This guy's
after your leg was fucking shattered.
Yeah, this guy's leg was essentially a sack of flesh with a few bone chunks floating around, and they're like concentrating, like, how many of those are you gonna have? And I was like, oh, I don't fucking know. As many as I need, you prick. My leg was fucking destroyed.
It was yesterday.
Yeah, do you not understand what happened to me? Like, my God.
He doesn't have a pill problem.
Yeah.
It was just prescribed him.
It's like, sure, it's opiates, but Jesus Christ, my leg is fucking flat. It's ruined. I may never recover from this. And you're going to point this out. You're going to ask me how many pills I'm going to have. What are you, my doctor?
There's an entire subplot about
there
these fucking
is.
pills.
There is. And in the end, he gives them up. And it's like, oh, well, good job. Now you're going to...
He gave them up. Yeah, because he got them 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And he deserved them, by the way. It was...
Yeah.
He doesn't have a fucking pill problem.
Yeah,
it'd be
come
different
on.
if, like, in the battle before his leg was smashed, he was like, "Gah, gah, gah," and then like,
Yeah. And he just went berserk in a fucking a high.
But his leg was fucking smashed. The next day he has pills. My God, how terrible is that?
Yeah.
And then what? It was like 2 days after with the wedding, he's still taking the pills.
Yeah. Big deal, right?
Oh my God.
Is that like something in their culture where they're like it's just, oh, you're weak, you're taking pills, you need help? No.
There might be something
No
there.
honor. I don't know, dude.
I know that there's like a big pill problem in the U.S. It's usually about doctors prescribing pills for too long. And
you do get addicted to stuff.
Yeah, you can get addicted to stuff, but there is a certain amount of time where it is totally okay and may be necessary to function to take pills.
Yeah, like what do you want him to do?
pain
Descend
pills.
into madness, go crazy because of the amount of pain he's in? Like your mind will go to mush if you're suffering to that extent. Like,
oh my God.
People that get tortured, the amount of pain they go through, they're fucked up.
I know that people with like pill addictions have to be really careful. Like they have to have different types of pain pills that aren't as good.
Yeah, maybe Libertas was a druggie before. I don't know. Maybe
Well, I would like if that was actually a problem, it would have been set up before.
Would it have?
But
Joe?
his leg was fucking smashed up, and my God, the doctor prescribed Vicodin for a couple days.
Well, was it? I mean, it doesn't have to be established to be true in this thing. We know that. So maybe he is a druggie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Subplot solved. Right
there's
there.
another question of some open-ended bullshit that we don't know about. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a thing. I put walls within walls. Trump would be proud.
Yeah.
That's what I put.
Very proud. We're very proud of what we built.
And then there was one scene where King Regis was talking about walls a lot, and there were other people talking about walls a lot. And they also talked about war a lot, and with this British accent that some of the people were putting on, which, by the way, a lot of people have different accents in this movie. Which is bizarre.
Well, they're from all over the place.
War and wall. Sorry, my dear British listeners, but they sound like the same fucking word in a British accent.
Yeah.
Wall, 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 wall.
So you couldn't tell which one they were talking about?
I could tell, but it was like to me, it was
Yeah.
funny. I remember there was a British girl in high school that had like just transferred over, and I was telling her about how I got stranded somewhere, and she's like, "Why don't you just go wool?" I'm like, what?
What the fuck's wool?
Spent like 2 minutes trying to figure out what the fuck she said, and it was walk.
Yeah. Why don't I wall?
Well, I never heard the K. There was no K at the end. It was just wool. And so I couldn't. I just couldn't.
Why didn't I dry heave? What?
Why didn't you just wool?
Like, well, perhaps because I don't know what the fuck that is. Is that like some sweet public transportation you got out there?
God.
Take the wool.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I could see that. I could see that being weird. And you're right. It's like a hodgepodge of accents, but they are from various different areas.
Hodgepodge of accents.
Refugees.
They use Lena Headey and Sean Bean and the dude from Breaking Bad, whose name I just forgot. They use them to kind of sell the movie, and frankly, they're the best voice actors in this movie.
Oh yeah, they're good.
They do actually some pretty darn good performances, considering they're just in this to get a paycheck for a movie that 2 people or like 200 people are going to see, right?
Yeah.
Unless they sold it to them as like, this will be the biggest movie ever. Don't
Yeah,
you remember
and
the
plus
last Final Fantasy? It rocks the world.
Plus, the release of this thing was kind of shady and bizarre, and I'm gonna bitch about that at the end. But
And
no, I would say pretty good voice acting overall.
pretty good voice acting overall. I will say that considering how much we see Libertus, he's kind of outranked by
Yeah.
the other voice actors. Yeah. He kind of reminds me of, I think it was Raubon from Final Fantasy XIV,
Yeah.
where it's like the gruff man voice from someone who doesn't have a gruff voice. Like if I were to try a gruff man voice, like the
Yeah.
Cookie Monster sort of thing. I don't know, man. Like you'd have to watch the movie to see what I'm talking about, but
Yeah, there's times where he gets pissed and he's like, "God damn it!" and you can't take him seriously. You just kind of want to laugh
it's
at
like
the
they
guy.
needed to hire Vin Diesel. Instead, they hired like a tenor, like someone with a really high voice
Yeah.
that has to fake a.
Yeah. I got
Like a
that from
deeper
him, and he
voice.
does get a lot of camera time, so it's weird with him, and then also with
He's not terrible, but he is outranked.
with Glauca. Like I can't take that guy
Glaucoma,
seriously.
yeah, that's right.
Glaucoma. I can't take him seriously either because he sounds like Ray Romano to me. And when I look at the character design that they have for that guy, you know who they should have picked? They should have picked for it. They should have had Gerard Butler play him. They built
that'd be
Gerard Butler in the fucking anime.
They probably tried to get him.
You think so? That would have been awesome. Can you imagine how epic those lines would have been with Gerard Butler instead of like masculine Ray Romano? Mm-hmm. Perfect. He should have been Gerard Butler. The fat man should have been. Oh, what the fuck is that guy's name? The fat guy in guy who plays Pacha in Emperor's New Groove.
John Goodman.
John Goodman should have been Libertas.
All of them, John Goodman
That would have been
movies.
amazing.
Of all the John Goodman movies, the first one at the top of your head was Emperor's New Groove.
Yeah, the greatest animated film ever.
That's high. I love that movie. That's high praise.
It's great. No, but really though, can you imagine that? It would have been perfect. It would have been perfect.
It would be perfect. I did put that Luna Freya also looks malnourished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not feeding those people.
So
It's-
Luna Freya looks fine from the game footage that we've seen, or even the cutscene from the game. And of course, these are not the same people working on the cutscenes as
yeah.
who are working on the movie, so it's like they're gonna be close, but they're never gonna be the same. I will say that Luna Freya, it's odd for a Final Fantasy media for she does look kind of realistic, but she's like a little mousy, frail. Like her skin is very translucent.
Yeah.
It's
Doesn't get enough sun.
it's odd.
She kind of reminds me of Lightning's sister, Sarah, in 13. Just like a tiny person. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's weird that there's like a thing with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's just kind of like surprising.
Well, it's surprising because she's such a badass. Like in the trailers we've seen, like there's the one trailer where they're holding guns to her and she just like brushes the gun off and it's like, "Fuck off! You're not gonna do anything to me." And it just seems weird that she would be this way in the movie. I don't know.
There's protesters in the kingdom.
Yeah.
That was something I felt was kind of odd. And a lot of people, a lot of dissenters from the king. Like a lot of people don't like the king. And especially his decision to to hand over Tenebra. The king. What I was confused
Tenebra
about
was taken like years before this, but
or not Tenebra.
the outskirts, all the areas.
The outside stuff.
Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, that's why.
So there's a lot of protesters.
Yeah.
So the citizens have the right to freedom of speech I don't know. I thought that was kind of odd. Like a lot of people, considering this was a kingdom, it's ruled by one man who has all power.
They have
all
like
laws.
a strange democracy
That
sort of
there's some quasi democracy, a lot of power given to the people.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand what the fuck they needed a king for if that was the case. I mean, but if it were like I don't know, what do they call that? A constitutional monarchy or something like that?
Yeah, where the royalty
king,
is essentially nothing.
The king shouldn't have
it's
that.
It's just a tradition.
The king shouldn't have that much power to just like
he's
get
got
rid of that land.
The
right?
ring of the Lucii, which harnesses the power of the crystal. I mean, the guy can kill anybody he wants to, except for the one guy he has to kill.
I'm just confused because there's got to be some like bad kings in this line. Like, how come?
Well, yeah, listen to him in the end when they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to help you. We're just going to burn your fucking flesh because it's awesome."
Like, how come there can be? He's a very relaxed king, I guess.
He's chill.
There's so much dissenting. Like there was one person holding up a poster that was like down with Regis, and I was just kind of like, is this a democracy? Is this okay?
Yeah,
is that guy gonna get fucking killed? Like, is there gonna be like a group of like 20 troops that are gonna
just go out and massacre him?
Yeah, just go out and massacre him for dissension. I thought that was it was odd. Like I wanted to know like exactly how the government worked and like what the rights of the people were.
Yeah, maybe I can see it being bizarre, but I mean you can still technically have some semblance of democracy.
Yeah, and you can have
well, not necessarily that style of government. Clearly, you don't elect the king. The king is just the family of the Lucii.
So I'm wondering like what the king's power is.
Yeah, what rights are in place, and
why the people think it's okay to protest like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Very interesting.
It is odd. Yeah.
If anybody who's listening to this lives in a monarchy, let us know how things work.
Yeah, except for Britain, like that doesn't really count.
Really
they are just there as status symbols, basically. Now,
as far as I can tell,
they gave up all their power. Which at that point, like, why even do it? I don't know. It's beyond us Americans.
Yeah. Okay. I also got another question here. With all this shit going down in this kingdom, going after and Luna Freya being captured, how come Noctis, who of course doesn't really show up in this movie, how come he's just allowed to go off? Like he has very minimal security, and he's just
they need
going
to keep
to school and.
Well, he's not going to school right now.
I think it'd be a very dangerous thing to not have Noctis within safety, you know?
Well, him not being there is the idea of safety for this movie. Him getting out because the king knows what's going to happen. He knew this was going to take place. He didn't know how, but he knew the city was going to fall. He couldn't keep
Like he should be in fucking NORAD right now. Like it's.
Well, he should probably be in Switzerland or Russia, maybe.
I don't know.
Chilling with Snowden, right? Just escaping. But no, really though, that's the idea behind them getting him out because the Lucii line has to live on. And so he's like, all right, well, I'm going to get my son out, even though it might seem safer here, but clearly the king knew he wasn't going to be able to hold it forever, and they just shipped Noctis out.
Noctis would be safest with the Kingsglaive.
You would think, but look how butchered they got.
That's true. You're right.
The mutiny, maybe the king knew. The king knew.
I got every emotional beat is like a 10.
Yeah.
So everything in this movie, there's no subtlety in this movie whatsoever. It's not FF13 level where every single scene everybody turns around
and
there's a piano note that suddenly starts playing as we watch the.
Yeah, it's like, hey, get your emotions ready. Cling, cling, cling.
But. There's a lot of shouting in this movie, and there's a lot of very melodramatic uprising of the score in certain aspects, and there's really few quiet moments in this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of Hollywood blockbuster-esque in that
No,
way.
but there are quiet moments in most Hollywood blockbusters.
Yeah.
At very strategic parts because they're all the same movie. But in this movie, we have the giant action scene at the beginning. And then there's a quiet scene where they talk at a dinner table. And then after the one lady dies, there's another quiet scene. And that's about it. And there's one scene where he's holding the hairpin and talks for 12 minutes when he should have fucking thrown the hairpin out.
Yeah,
the
he's
window.
like, they're using the hairpin to track. It's like someone with ADHD.
They're using the hairpin to track. Let's talk about the hairpin for 20 minutes.
Here's what it's like. It's like Cameron from Nude Clan figured out that the hairpin was the thing, and he had to tell you exactly when he found out when the hairpin was the thing, and it took 5 minutes, and then everybody fucking found you, and y'all died.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. It's like, oh, dude, no, hairpin. It's the hairpin. There's a tracking device in the hairpin. They gave it to us early on. They've been following us this whole time. It's like, yeah, get rid of the hairpin.
Yeah. We don't really get to know Crow very well, so her death means nothing to the audience.
Yeah, it does.
Libertus has a gigantic speech about how he saw Crow as an orphan, and I was that entire time I was like, was he a fucking orphan too? Like, how much older is Libertus
the aging
than
was,
Crow?
Yeah, it seemed
And
odd.
did he pick her up as? That's a little weird. Did he pick her up as an orphan and bring her into the service?
Well, I mean, that is implied what they do for the Kingsglaive. They find him and like train him as young, child laborers essentially.
And we got the one guy who's really pissed, or we got the couple guys who are really pissed at Nyx for disobeying orders and saving his friend Libertus. But yet, when Libertus, who is also a member of the Kingsglaive, dissents, when he leaves, no one comes after him. Like, no one cares about deserters. They seem... They're more concerned about the one person who disobeyed orders once during the battle, saved someone, and everything turned out okay, than they are about the real deserter who, in front of like 6 other members of this special task unit, said, "Fuck this, I'm out." And I thought that was kind of a weird, uneven... Like,
Sense
it
of
doesn't make any
justice,
sense,
kind of yeah. All right.
Yeah. I got a note on here that says Nyx has a ghetto booty.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't notice.
So Nyx, in one scene, he's wearing really tight pants, and like the light catches his ass in a shot. And I just stood there for a second. I was like, Nyx kind of has a large ass for how big of a person he is. Like, Nyx has a ghetto booty. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of little random things here, and I'm not sure if I should get into all of these things, but I got a couple big notes. So the princess is taken, but the audience gets no measure of her danger in any way after she's taken. Because we know that she's got to arrive for this wedding thing.
Right, yeah.
She doesn't arrive. Nyx goes, "Oh, shit." And then he tries to go after the princess. But as an audience member, we don't really actually care.
Yeah, we don't see her get taken.
And the reason we don't care is because we never see her get taken. We never see what kind of danger she's in.
The only thing
she could be just stuck in a bathroom and like, I don't know, just having an emotional breakdown or something.
Well, we do get the scene with Glaucoma grabbing her arm and telling her like, "Oh, you don't think this shit's real, do you?" But that's not her.
But that's not her in danger. That's her talking to a dude at a party who's a little
drunk,
strong.
a little tipsy,
Yeah.
like, "Hey, baby, I'm gonna grab your arm
So
now."
we have a giant 30-minute sequence of Nyx trying to save her, and all that
Yeah.
happens is like he's like, "Oh shit," and then the next thing we see, they're also cross-cutting with Regis and the other king,
Right, talking shit
which
on
is
each
far
other.
more interesting of a plot line.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of Star Wars Episode 1. The action part is the lame part, and the part where they're talking politics is interesting.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And the next thing, Nyx just finds her in the room and everything's okay. I mean, that is before the giant squid attacks.
Yeah.
But there's no suspense there. And that problem pervades this movie the entire time. There's no sense of danger when they're going after someone, except for maybe the guy with his leg smashed.
Yeah.
And so we, as the audience, don't really care. I mean, that's an Alfred Hitchcock sort of rule of suspense thing where you show the bomb under the table and you see the people who don't know that there's a bomb under the table. And thus, we as the audience, we have a sense of danger there.
Yeah.
And we're wondering, oh shit, what's going to happen next? But in this case, it's like, oh, she's been taken, but we don't know what the stakes are. And if you don't know what the stakes are, you don't care as much for what's going on. I did put a note, the part where King Regis stops everybody's weapons in midair
Yeah,
was
that's
fucking
sweet.
awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed his powers as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I also liked the teleport, the warp attack thing that all of the Kingsglaive could do, where they throw their weapon and they warp to it. I think that's a really cool concept. And I thought it was fun how when Nyx is fighting glaucoma, we have the thing backfiring on him. You know, the guy like smacks the sword away and he warps to it and he like falls onto the floor and like owns himself. I thought that was cool how they gave it a sense of realism. Like if you can warp, I mean, if somebody knocks it away, you're going to warp to wherever it's at and get screwed. Also, I personally loved the little plot line with that racist guard at the gate when Nyx gets he gets placed on guard duty, and then there's this dude who's
hero.
Yeah, the dumb fuck guard is like giving him shit for being an immigrant and not being born here, even though it doesn't matter. The here is going to be destroyed and everyone knows it, but the guy's just like a total douche to him, treating him like one of the British guard dudes that everyone. There's always these funny videos about people trying to make him smile or have emotions, treating him kind of like that. And then later on in the movie, Nyx is they're being attacked or chased. No, it's Libertas. He's being chased. No, fuck. Jesus, sorry. It's the part where Libertas is in the car with Lunafreya, and he's trying to like attack the dissenters from the Kingsglaive from across the way who are on this tram thing. And then this redneck guard just like drives up and fucking pulls out his Uzi and just goes drive-by mode on these motherfuckers. I thought that was awesome. You guys like, I got your back. And those dudes can't do shit because they don't have magic either. They're just like taking it. That part was cool.
Yeah.
That guy's a total derp, but I really loved when he just fucking started unloading on him from the window.
The line before King Regis dies, I know your mother would wish the same as me, that you and Noctis would live happily. And then he keeps going from there, but I thought he was going to keep rhyming at one point, and I thought that was kind of like the way Sean Bean delivered the line, it was a poem for a second.
And then he's like, oh, wait, no, this isn't a poem. We'll keep it.
Oh, boy. Yeah. The other note, Noctis takes like 12 years to use the hairpin tracking device to lead the robots away, which is the first, like, when he finds out the thing's a tracking device, as an audience member, the first time I watched the movie, I was like, fucking throw that thing out the window.
Yeah, these things are clearly like a hive mind creature. They're just going after
but instead,
wherever the
he's
thing
like,
is.
All right, now let me tell you 20 minutes before the movie ends what my character motivation is about my sister and blah, 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 blah. Holding the tracking device in his fucking hand.
Yeah.
God, dude. That I was like sitting on my bed, like yelling at the screen. Like saying, fucking throw the thing.
Yeah, do something.
And they do eventually throw it into like a disintegrator. All the scarab beetles go into it.
Yeah, it's sweet. But
it's like 20 minutes after he should have just thrown that thing, and then they could have left, and nothing wrong would happen.
I'm telling you, man, ADHD, it's killing this guy. Can't concentrate.
Oh, boy.
Or maybe he can, and he's too worried about finally realizing that the tracking device is in the fucking hairpin.
All right, so those are most of my nitpicky notes, and I do have some overall thoughts on the movie. Schweiss, what did you think was bad about the movie? And we'll end with a positive note. What did you think was good about the movie?
All right, so
as a movie and as a Final Fantasy fan.
When I look at this thing as a moviegoer, I see less than good. There's a lot of plot holes to me. There's a lot of out of context things that happen. This thing is shoveling information at us, much like Final Fantasy XIII in the first few hours.
But yet not enough information about the right thing.
Right. We're given so much and not enough to really piece stuff together. I feel like it's very heavy in that way. I think the voice acting was decent. There were a few people I would definitely not have cast as certain individuals. Too over the top, but for the most part, great performances. The animation I thought was fantastic. I thought that was great. Although, I don't know. It kind of reminded me of Advent Children in some ways, where the action was always really good, but then the story stuff was like, I don't know. It wasn't as...
Oh, you mean overall, not animation-wise?
Yeah, overall,
Okay.
not necessarily the animation. The animation looks fantastic. I don't think I really had an issue ever with how things looked. It was more along the lines of storytelling, which as a Final Fantasy fan is a big deal to me. The story is most of the experience. I feel like without the context of Final Fantasy XV, I agree with what you said earlier about us not really knowing Noctis. We don't know who Noctis is at all at this point.
We don't know
unless we've been
Noctis.
following.
We don't understand the importance of this shit.
It's all just madness. It's just something that happened, some event, and we know nothing contextually at all as far as the whole plot of this film goes. And
I tried not to read up on. I try not to read up on any of the lore for 15 that's been released. I mean, obviously we hear things because we're doing the show, but and that honestly caused that made me watch the movie twice because I was like, what the fuck is all this shit that's going on? Like, and I still don't know why. What two walls? There are two walls. Swear to God, there are two walls. They talk about two walls. What was the first wall? I have no idea. There's just things that are in this movie, places that are
so
named,
far removed.
And yeah, you're completely removed from the circumstance.
Yeah, and it is hard to be emotionally attached to any of these characters that pass on because we only get a few minutes with Crow, and like, what she gives the dude shit for taking pills. Like, why do I care about her dying? Like, she's fucking retarded, as far as I can tell. It's like bagging on her friend for needing a painkiller so he doesn't get blinded in pain. You know?
What are you saying? Your leg was disintegrated?
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know. As a moviegoer, not the best. Leaves some stuff to be desired. As a Final Fantasy fan, I do think it was a decent movie. It did its job. It did get me more excited to play 15. When I got done watching it the first time, I wanted to play 15. I wanted to get into that universe. I wanted to jump in and play as Noctis and mess around with stuff. So it succeeded in that way. I can see why so many people give it so much shit as far as the critics go, because they're not individuals that know anything about Noctis. They don't know anything about this universe, and it's so heavily based on prior content that I can't perceive it as
they put it out before the game comes out.
Yeah, I can't perceive it as like it needs to be holistic to be a good film to me, or a sequel, but it's not. It's neither. It's not holistic. And
it's a prequel to something that hasn't come out.
Yeah,
it's bizarre.
And it's the only way you would know anything about it is if you were following Final Fantasy 15. You played the demos. You played the platinum demo. You've watched the anime. To us, yeah, we understand it. It's not a big deal. I understand what's going on. I understand the conflict between the nations. I understand why Noctis is sent away. So it makes sense to me, but that's only as a Final Fantasy fan. And as a Final Fantasy fan, I am satisfied with it. I think it's worth your time, and I'm glad I watched it. Kind of mad that I bought it, since I'm going to get it again any fucking way, but I'll talk about that in a minute. What did you dislike, or what did you like? I guess.
All right. So, no, I have in general, I mean, I nitpicked, but those are things I found were funny or something like that. Generally, this movie has really bad structure.
Yeah.
We have a death of a character at a weird point in the movie, and it's a character that we didn't really get to know. And it's a catalyst for one of the characters to kind of change the way his life goes for a bit, and none of that turns into anything.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because this character didn't matter that died.
We had little tiny snippets, and I think there were two little tiny snippets that Noctis was having bad dreams, which I didn't even catch the first time I watched the movie. And then we get, of course, his speech about his sister and how he couldn't save her near the end of the movie. And so Noctis doesn't really have a reason for why he's fighting so hard for this cause.
You mean Nyx?
Nyx, sorry. And they both start with an N. Nyx definitely is who I'm talking about. So Nyx has no reason that he's fighting as an audience member that I see until the end. So we do get it. You're right. And there was an episode that we recorded a few weeks ago where I had no idea like why Nyx was doing anything that he was doing. And then you were like, well, it's because he didn't save someone. And I caught it this time. But it was near the end of the movie. And that is not the place where you reveal that.
Yeah.
That's overall pretty bad structure. I don't think that the person who wrote this movie is a person who writes movies.
No, they're not. They're a person who writes cutscenes.
Yeah. Also, the movie never has a breather besides in the first 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's just
a tiny bit of a breather.
It's just nonstop.
And so we get no character development. I mean, there's a reason we watch movies, and it's for story. It's not always just for the visual fun of a spectacle. And it's usually somewhere between story and character is where we are interested in a movie. And this movie had weak characters because we didn't get any time with them.
Yeah.
And the story, of course, was very convoluted in its own way. I think it was generally, it wasn't, its structure was pretty bad. I think another huge thing that it does, the no context in the geography.
Yeah.
That is a huge mistake. It is a huge mistake. 13 had the same mistake. Look, let's go all the way back to Seven Samurai when they're getting the village ready for the attack from all the from the outsiders, right?
Right, yeah.
And Magnificent Seven is based on Seven Samurai anyway. So if that's a better context for you guys, then that can work. There's a part where they bring out this big map of the village. They draw the village out for the audience.
Yeah.
And they go, we'll be here and here and here and here. And they point out kind of the scope of the movie right there. Now we know the entire village, and then we can have little individual scenes that go from there. Like, we know where we are in the movie. It even works for Lord of the Rings, Schweiss. We get one map. Well, we get two. We get two map shots. One in the prologue of Lord of the Rings, where we see Mordor and we see the rest of the world of Middle-earth.
Yeah.
And then later on, in one of the other movies, possibly, they might have even used a map in all three of the movies. I can't remember. They bring out the map of Middle-earth, and they go, Rohan is over here, and then we're over here with our troops. And so the audience knows exactly where everything is, and there's no confusion. And that's a very simple, you put out where everybody is in this fucking movie, and then we can go along with
it. It does add context to the conflict. I mean, it brings a certain sort of, I don't know, necessary speed to the conflict at hand. Like, this stuff is happening very quickly. It's happening closely. We need to ready up.
Well, we have just a visual image of where everything is.
Right, where things are happening.
What the players are, where the players are. And then we can continue with the movie.
Yeah,
But to just say there's a kingdom who wants this area and then another kingdom who doesn't want, like, we don't see that in our heads. We don't see what this conflict is geographically. And that really does not work. And the Final Fantasy guys need to learn how to deal with that because they've had this problem before. And my last big note was the bad sound mix of the movie. Both on your television and my television. In fact, two different televisions in my house. The sound mix is, at least in the English language version, the sound mix is kind of bad for the movie. That's a technical note, not really an artistic one, but the vocals or the dialogue is way below the music sometimes in this movie.
Oh, yeah. I experienced that a few times, too. I'm like, I can't hear what you're saying.
No, I've seen it on 3 different televisions. That's how I can put that note down.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is not okay. Like, there are some times where, like, even the beginning sort of speech, like, she's kind of muffled underneath the music almost. Like, the music is so overpowering. It's good music.
Yeah, it is.
Music is so overpowering over the wall-to-wall dialogue that it's distracting. I thought it was a bad sound mix. Bad as a Final Fantasy fan. I don't think it stands alone as a piece. So you can't, like, show someone, a person who's never seen Final Fantasy, this movie.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
To have them enjoy. They might enjoy the action. That's why people still enjoy Advent Children without watching 7. I assume it's because of the action.
Yeah, it has to be.
And the action's still cool in this movie, and I think the action's I think, yeah, this movie has a lot going for it as far as action is concerned. We've seen all these cool monsters, of course, but they're monsters that we've seen before in Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
They don't really give us any new ones. There are some new ones from the 15 universe, but we've seen them from other 15 pieces of media, so that one's kind of a iffy note. Noctis looks, and the other boys look fucking terrible at the end of the movie. Obviously, they were animated by different people, but like we've seen Noctis and the other guys
Oh yeah.
in CG cutscenes, and then after the credits roll in this one, they look weird. You guys who watch the movie will know what I'm talking about. They look bad,
Yeah.
which is bizarre. And then I put product placement in an FF may be seen as something pretty bad. Now good, pretty darn good soundtrack. Incredible lifelike animation, which we talked about.
Yeah.
There are some well-made and exciting action sequences, although those action sequences are kind of boring because there's no suspense. But visually, the action sequences are very cool. And just overall artistically beautiful. The lighting in this movie, the artificial lighting, it's gorgeous. Good performances from our leads, and I will say, since it is directed by the same person who directed Advent Children, much better direction than Advent Children.
Yeah.
We kind of, I don't know, it was just more steady with the camera, and I thought it was better that way. As an FF, good FF music, a lot of cool tracks from other Final Fantasy stuff. We see lots of creatures that are getting fucking huge in this movie, of course. This movie, if it does something really well, it's its sense of scale. Like when a creature, when someone sees one of the creatures in this movie, like it looks huge.
Yeah.
Right. And Final Fantasy XV is the same way with the Ramuh summon, at least, where he's just enormous.
Yeah. Everything is
and
epic.
it's like everything like drops in the pit of your stomach when you're like, geez, that thing is huge. That's cool stuff. It's an easier to follow movie than Advent Children.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
It only took me 2 watches to understand what was going on in this movie. Advent Children, of course, I don't know how many watches, and I still don't know if I understand it completely. And I will say my last good note as a Final Fantasy fan, very cool FF15 world exploration, but yet doesn't explore it to the extent where we're getting a whole bunch of new stuff. It's kind of like we've seen all this stuff visually through trailers or whatever. We've seen these cities before, but we are learning more about the world, and it is exciting to see more of the world, like to see those giant creatures battle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I thought the only things that were going to be giant in 15 were going to be the summons, but it looks like there might be some other sort of big things that we can fight as well.
Yeah,
It's like a kaiju movie sort of a thing.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I think it definitely fulfills its initial purpose of the multimedia rollout of Final Fantasy XV. I feel like it does well with that because it's meant to attract people who are going to be semi-interested and or invested in the series or this world. And while we understand the movie to a certain extent, obviously there's probably some stuff that we fucked up on, I'm sure. But we get it because we've been following 15. We played the demos. We know a little bit about the universe. So yeah, as a fan, I think it's good. I think it's worth your time. Go out and enjoy it. As a moviegoer, I don't know. I gave it a worse rating than Spirits Within. I didn't realize that, but I did.
I think, I'll tell you something. I think Spirits Within, I think it's not a great movie, but I think it's a fun movie and a decent movie.
Yeah.
And
it's not really Final Fantasy like this one is, but
okay. That's where I'm gonna get at. As a movie, Spirits Within, still by far the best one. I think you can show Spirits Within to someone who has never played a Final Fantasy game as a movie in itself, and they'll go, it was all right. That's what they'll do at the end of Spirits Within.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part. And Advent Children, though, they'll be like, I have no idea what the fuck happened, but the action was cool. In this movie, once again, I have no idea what the fuck happened, but the action was cool.
Yeah.
There's actually like character development, and there's a good structure with Spirits Within. I mean, it's kind of a lukewarm movie, but it's good. Like, it's decent. It's well crafted. Because it's a Hollywood movie that they worked. It was Columbia or Paramount or someone, and they were working with Square Enix.
Yeah,
So there's a different quality there.
Well, it was still SquareSoft also.
Oh yeah, SquareSoft. You're right.
Yeah.
But there's movie makers making a Final Fantasy movie,
And then there's game makers.
and then there's the game makers making a Final Fantasy movie.
Yeah.
And there's two different things. Now, one person will make the better movie, and that is the movie makers making the Final Fantasy movie. Now, the other person or the other team will make the better Final Fantasy piece of media.
Yeah.
So the something that's for the fans, it's going to be more satisfying on that end.
Yeah, and I would totally agree with that on
Yeah.
both fronts. I think Advent Children and Kingsglaive are more entertaining as a fan of Final Fantasy. And I feel like this, like I said, it got the job done. It made me want to play 15, and that's essentially all I was expecting out of it. I didn't think it was going to be some masterpiece. I didn't think it was going to be a mind-blowing experience. I know the director. I know what he's done before. I know how I felt about that. And I do like this one more, but I don't know. I think overall it's, like I said, it's good. It's fun, I guess.
So I got two different rankings for you.
All right.
As a movie, and then as a Final Fantasy fan.
Okay.
Okay. What are your rankings as a movie for all three Final Fantasy movies? 4.
Well, all 4 counting FF5?
Yeah. Legend of the Crystal.
As a movie...
I honestly don't remember what our old ranking was, but,
I don't know either. As a movie, I'm going to put this one... All right, we're going to go not Advent Children. First place is going to be Spirits Within.
Okay.
And then probably the 5 movie. And then this movie. And then Advent Children.
As a
Complete.
movie, that's where you're putting them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. As a movie for me, I would do the same. I would put Spirits Within on the top, followed by the Final Fantasy V Legend of the Crystal movie.
Right.
And then I would actually put Advent Children. Not Advent Children Complete, but regular Advent Children, and then this movie.
Okay.
I think Advent Children has better structure than this movie does.
All right.
And better character development. And everything in that sort of story department, although Advent Children is still weak in that department, I think it's stronger than this movie.
That's fair.
Okay.
What about as a Final Fantasy fan?
As a Final Fantasy fan, I'm going to go ahead and put this one as number 1.
Okay.
I think this one is the most satisfying as a Final Fantasy fan, followed by Advent Children, followed by Spirits Within, and then Final Fantasy Legend of the Crystals as the bottom for Final Fantasy fandom, because that almost has no... It doesn't work. Like, as a sequel to Final Fantasy V, it's bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. As an FF fan...
Although, as a piece of entertainment, I think it's
all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
As an FF fan, I'm going to put this movie at number 1.
Oh, okay.
I think it's better than the others. Okay. As far as what I get out of it and how it advances the story, it doesn't destroy something that I loved from before. It builds something up to where you'll then experience it. So it's a little different in its structure. I think I'm still going to put Spirits Within as number 2. And now my reasoning for this is Complete Edition is the edition of Advent Children. The Square Enix has come out and said that is the canonized version. And
that shit.
Because of that, I don't like that movie. I don't like
Advent Children Complete.
the extra
structure
scenes in
that's
it.
as bad as this movie is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really into it. So I'm going to put that one at number 3. No, you know what? I'm going to put the 5 movie above it. Advent Children Complete's the worst one. You know why?
Okay.
You know why?
All right.
Because I love the ending of Final Fantasy VII, and I feel like Advent Children takes a nice steaming shit on it. I don't like what they did with Cloud. I don't like the changes they made. I don't like him being suddenly emo out of nowhere, and it just bugs me. I don't think it should have ever been, and I don't think his character was moving in that direction. So as a fan, it insults me almost as much as it does as a movie. As a moviegoer, at the very least, the complete edition. The regular edition still does the stuff with Cloud where it just ruins what I felt the ending of 7 meant. And, and I guess Enix didn't quite, I don't know. I mean, I know Nomura was involved with Advent Children. He was one of the directors. He co-directed along with Takeshi Nozue, but I don't know. And Nomura, of course, had a lot to do with Final Fantasy VII. So maybe it was supposed to go in that direction, but I don't feel as a consumer that it should have, and it bugs me. So,
what did our listeners think?
Stick that. Yeah, guys, let us know what you think with your rankings. We're going to put Kingsglaive, but we do know what people thought of Kingsglaive up front. So we asked last week, and by last week I really mean about a month ago, what you guys thought of Kingsglaive as a whole. Stola says, I've had a bit of time to reflect on how I really feel about Kingsglaive. I ask myself, would you watch it again? The answer, no, never again. Ever. This movie actually pisses me off. So I made a thread earlier to vent my initial frustration. I'll reiterate it and expand on it here. Positive note, the CG is absolutely stunning. I think they did an amazing job balancing on the edge of realistic CG without falling into the uncanny valley. The only exception is Luna as a child. That 3D model is the stuff of nightmares. One issue tech-wise, when the characters spoke, there was an overcompensation when the skin on the jawline moved, which made it look awkward at times.
Okay, my notes are not that nitpicky, are they?
No, I don't think so. An example of what I'm talking about when Arden speaks in the beginning. As for the story, I understand why it holds a tender score of 7% on Rotten Tomatoes. My major qualms. So first, the Kingsglaive, a group of people made up of refugees from outside Insomnia. Their homes/villages/towns were destroyed because they were on the border of Niflheim and Lucius. Niflheim wants to conquer Insomnia, which I assume is in between the refugees' homes and Niflheim. I wouldn't know. Why, you ask? Because they never show a goddamn map of anything, so you have no idea where the fuck anything is in relation to anything else. They're just throwing out goddamn names willy-nilly.
Yeah, that's why I had to watch the movie fucking twice.
For all we know, if the game didn't exist, the total size of the land that they're bickering over could be the size of fucking Rhode Island. If they did,
I think it might actually be about the size of Rhode Island.
If they did, my eyes might have been glazed over trying to get through the film. Anyway, Insomnia, I assume, took in all refugees from these areas. This, of course, isn't discussed in detail either. And in gratitude, the refugees became the Kingsglaive and risked their lives to defend Insomnia's magic wall from the hordes of monsters and mech that Niflheim is using. Yet, despite getting slaughtered and dealing with an onslaught outside the wall, the citizens of Insomnia don't like them. For what reasons? Just a blind hatred. But in the end, a group of the Kingsglaive betray Insomnia because despite that Niflheim is the sole reason that they were displaced, losing their loved ones, and having to defend the wall, Niflheim cuts them a deal. If you just let us conquer this land, the war will be over. That doesn't make any sense. That is a great point. And why is Lunafreya's brother such a cock?
He's just a fucking asshole.
He's siding with the people that killed his fucking mom. He knows that. He knows. And he blames King Regis. What? Was he dropped? I mean, seriously, what the hell is his problem?
I forgot to mention something. In the context of this movie, and this is once again one of those things where it's like, I wasn't looking up any information before I watched this movie. The way that they set up the relationship of the families, it's almost as if King Regis had his family, and then there was the part where he's fleeing with Noctis and with Lunafreya, and then Lunafreya falls behind, right?
Yeah.
I thought that Noctis and Lunafreya were brother and sister, and I had to have you clarify that they weren't.
Yeah.
So when we watched the movie the first time, now fuck you guys, because I know you guys already knew this shit, and I'm trying not to look up anything for this movie. So and to me, in the context of the movie, as I watched it the second time, I was like, yeah, I could have gotten that mixed up because they didn't say they weren't. They didn't say they were like two different families. It almost looked like they were like one family. I mean, they're so familial, like there's some relation there. Like they have love for each other or something. And of course, the beginning scene. So when the bad guy or when the evil emperor is like, they must marry.
And you're like, fucking sick ass.
We got the look from King Regis, and he's like, no.
Yeah.
But really, it was a look that was saying, oh, she's still alive. But for me, I read it as, disgusting.
Come on.
They're related or something like
Yeah.
that. And or like they were cousins. I had no idea because
Yeah.
the movie does not fucking
And it's like,
spell it
wow,
out.
Lena Headey just has to play an incestuous
She
person,
does.
doesn't she? No
So-
matter what she's in, gotta hit that brother. Hit that brother
Oh
up.
my god! So yeah, I forgot about that. I should have wrote that down. But that was something that made the first viewing of this movie
Really awkward.
something different. And Schweitz was watching with me the first time, and he corrected me that no, they're not related.
Yeah, I know. All right, so he goes on to say Lunafreya. She's the Oracle, which is never really explained in the movie, but is really important in the game. She prays to the gods once in the film, but it doesn't really do anything or show anything significant. Also,
I didn't get that.
we're in Gentiana, her attendant. Where is she during all of this? Where is Gentiana? Jesus. Based on how she was displayed in that trailer in 2013, you kind of assume she would have a pivotal role, but I guess not. So back to Luna. Why was she brought to Insomnia? Did I miss that part? Wasn't she supposed to be in Altissa to marry Noctis? That was the condition set by Niflheim. So were they like, fuck it, bring her with us to for reasons and fuck the whole marriage thing? If they were planning on doing that, they could have Noctis stay in Insomnia and try to assassinate him too so they could end the Lucian line. Or at the very least, Noctis and co. make it back as the invasion was happening. But that's the reason why Square made this movie, was because they couldn't fit this hour to 2 hour of content in the game. Instead, they spent millions of dollars, 3 years of a whole separate production, redesigns, gathering a team of people to work on this pile of nonsensical crap. I feel like Ann Wilkes. Actually, this is how I felt when I wrote it, and he has a YouTube link. Fuck it, we'll open it.
Last week? Have you all got... This isn't what happened last week. Have you all got amnesia? They just cheated us. This isn't fair. He didn't get out of the cock-a-doodie car.
Is that from Misery?
Yeah.
Okay.
The fact that Niflheim goes full hog in their assault on Insomnia. It wasn't enough to have a horde of machines and mech at your disposal. They also need to have several Godzilla-sized monsters to wreak havoc.
Hell yeah.
That ties my other point. Ultros and Diamond Weapon are now common enemies. It's weird because they are so iconic, and Ultros...
No, man. They have to release the demon.
Yeah.
It's not a common enemy if they have to say that before they release it.
True, yeah. Ultros and the weapons in general have been singular entries in each installment. It's kind of like when you use too many spices. It's overkill. Libertas, his general existence bothers me. So, I generally felt like I was being force-fed information the whole time, and a lot of it was really hard to swallow. The storytelling was really bad. There was no attachment to any characters, and there were so many, why is this character doing that moments. Overall, because the way this turned out, I really didn't think this was necessary. Yeah, it was beautiful visually, and if this is made to showcase Square's graphical capabilities, they succeeded, but they already showed us their abilities with Angi's Prophecy Tech demo. So again, this seemed pointless. With the money and time that went into, they even had to go back and redesign, remodel, retexture, add new dynamics to a slew of characters just for this movie. They could have instead invested making the September 30th launch date, or even having FF15 done earlier. Bam! All right, so
Holy shit.
we got one from Shinru here, and he starts out real great. Sometimes I feel like I'm too much of an FF fan, so I'm super biased and I can only nitpick, but overall, I loved the movie. Watched it about 5 times so far. I think it's the best FF movie or piece of FF media by far over all the TV series or movies. This is the best one, okay? Honestly, I watch a lot of movies, and Kingsglaive for a non-FF fan should be at least a 6 out of 10 rating, simply because
That's high praise, Shinro.
it's an around average action fantasy flick that would get a 5.9 on IMDb or something. But as an FF
I don't
fan,
think so.
yeah, I don't think so
I don't
either.
think so.
But as an FF fan, like myself, it's a 9 out of 10.
I think it's a nonsensical... As a movie, I think it's completely nonsensical.
It's a mess. As a movie by itself, Shinru, you can't even say that because you've been so involved with the information
I don't know,
coming
man.
out of 15. Like, that's
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with you, Shinru.
Oh, I definitely
okay.
don't.
All right.
All right, I felt the music was amazing. The CG visuals and graphics are the best ever seen in an animated film to date, and at times I felt like I was watching real people. Voice acting was great. Sure, there was that one voice actor that people criticized, but overall, the majority of voice acting in this film was amazing. And when Lena Headey, Sean Bean, or Aaron Paul talked, they just filled their roles perfectly. The villain Arden's voice actor did a great job voicing the character, and I got so mad I can't wait to fight him in FF15 along with all the other bad guys. The action scenes. Oh man, the action scenes are some of the best I've seen in animated films. So fluid and fast-paced, it just keeps building up until the grand finale. How can you not enjoy the amazing fight with all the gods fighting alongside the heroes destroying what seemed to be weapons from FF7? I got so into it, LOL. It was so badass. Then the movie throws in lots of information and stuff that you understand better the more you rewatch it. Not to mention that it's full of Easter eggs and stuff like that. The arcade has classic Square titles from the 80s, mentioning FF enemies as named food items on a menu. Cell phone ring is the one from Advent Children. Supposedly one of the background characters were developers of the game hidden into the film. Ultros, FF7 weapons, etc. Then there's the lore and fantasy stuff. It teased you just enough to get you hyped for the full game. All the stuff about the ring reminded me of Lord of the Rings. These gods showing up that are neutral, it seems, and don't care about anyone but their kingdom or something like that. How magic is used, really enjoyed that stuff. I loved it. But I can fully understand why others might hate it, and that's perfectly fine. I'm just happy there is finally an FF film that I can love more than Advent Children. Sephiroth and Cloud fight scene for life. For anyone who's worried about story parts, watch it again. Stuff I missed was actually explained in certain parts of the film that I missed on my first watch. Also, I believe that FF15 will most likely fill in any blanks of the story so we get the full picture. Kingsglaive was the delicious tease of the full steak that will be FF15.
Okay, I got a problem with this. Thank you for your reviews, guys.
Yes.
We got a couple more that we'll get to.
Stola says Jesus Shinru in the chat. He's taking over the show.
No, it's great.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, not really, but, you know.
Well,
go for it in this context, not in the take over the show. Yeah. You mean you didn't just figure it out because it's easy?
I can watch... Okay, I watched Saturday Night Fever the other night. And first off, I had never seen it before. I just heard it was a classic movie. I was like, God, it's a fucking disco movie. God damn it. And then I watched it, and it was fucking amazing, first off. But here's the thing. I could tell you that plot, and I could tell you it just fine. Having seen the movie twice, once.
Yeah.
This movie I had to watch twice. I was paying very close attention the first time I watched it, and the second time I had to take notes. And there are still problems with this movie. Yeah. As far as just the storytelling. So, look, I don't have a problem with, like, there's complicated stories, but they need to be emotionally simple.
Yeah. No, like, watching, Apocalypse Now, that's, like, crazy. If you start nodding off at any point during Apocalypse Now, you'll wake up and be like, what in the fuck?
You see that anyway.
What is happening? You know what I mean, though? Like,
Sure.
It just gets so nuts by the end, and it just becomes a psychological fuck fest, and I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, but
this movie, it's about clarity, and this movie has no clarity.
Yeah.
It doesn't understand how to talk to an audience or how to get an audience involved in a story, or at least to understand the story.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that whole it's going to get a 6 on IMDb. I assure you it probably doesn't right now have a 6 on IMDb. I would be very surprised if it has more than 100 ratings that it has over a 6 user score on IMDb. I think it's a super convoluted film, and it's not as I watched it the second time, it is not that complex, but the way they like made the story, it made it so that it was.
It's got a 7 out of 10.
Oh, it's got a 7? How many ratings does it have?
8,119.
That is higher. That is way higher than I thought.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. There are some movies that deserve higher than that, and they don't.
Yeah.
Well,
that's all right.
See what happens in a year from now.
Yeah. Who knows?
I have a feeling those are mostly Final Fantasy fans.
Probably, yeah. I feel like that's who's going to go rate this thing because that's who watched it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, maybe we should do an experiment where Rotten Tomatoes apparently wasn't enough. Maybe we should do an experiment where we get people who have no idea what the fuck Final Fantasy is and like make them watch this movie and be like, what was this movie about?
Yeah. Maybe. That would be
and see
fun.
if they could, answer that.
That would be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
I have my doubts.
It's confusing the whole way, much as, kicking on a movie halfway through would be. And that's just kind of how it felt. So, Got any other points you want to tear Shinru
Nope,
apart
go ahead.
with? All right, so
I'm
we
not
have...
tearing Shinru apart.
We have Nox Knight 88. He says, I don't have time to post a lengthy review of this movie, but suffice it to say that I mostly agree with Shinru. There's no denying that the CG and action were fantastic. I thought the characters were interesting, especially Nyx, Regis, and Arden. I thought the music fit the movie well, though none of the pieces were particularly memorable. To him, it's no different than a summer action movie. I was entertained, which to me is enough in this case. It also whets my appetite for the game. I can understand, however, why the average moviegoer would have problems with this movie. I do think that you need to have some familiarity with FF15 to understand what's going on. There's also a ton of FF fan service that would fly over the heads of the outsiders. Even still, there are far worse movies with weaker plots that have a better score on Rotten Tomatoes. 13% of Rotten Tomatoes is far too low for this movie. All right, not going to explain Rotten Tomatoes again on the show. All right, so Strike Knight says, for the average moviegoer, it's definitely a 3 out of 10. It relies heavily on knowing Final Fantasy XV. It moves around very quickly, trying to do action and cramming a lot in. If they made the movie 3 hours, they would probably have a higher score and slower moving around. But my score as a gamer and FF fan, it's around 8.2. Has very human-like CGI, helped a lot understand what happens before we play as Noctis. The destruction on screen was crazy. There was a lot of good and bad, but the movie was meant more for fans, even if they say they wanted everyone to see it.
True, you're right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what they say. All right, no, we did ask about questions. We put, it was like a while ago.
You said something about being pissed off about the release of this movie?
Yeah, so...
Let's talk about that before we get into questions.
Here's how the release goes. We pre-ordered 15, right?
Yeah.
Theoretically, we didn't actually yet, but...
I have.
Okay, I have not. And we're going to get a copy of Kingsglaive with our special edition of the game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Kingsglaive suddenly was available for streaming. First off, very limited theater release. Stressful, but whatever. I understand. It's probably not going to make much money, so they need to not... a lot of theaters aren't going to take it. We didn't get to see it there. Then the movie comes out on PlayStation, and you can buy it for $15, but you can't rent it. Okay, so I bought the movie. I bought it on PlayStation Network for $15.99. Complete bullshit, right? And then now we can rent it. We can now rent the movie, right? It's like $6 though to rent it.
It's a
and then we're
$6
going to get a
rental.
copy of the game. And we're going to get a copy of the movie with the game. Like, what horse shit? What kind of fucking... Did they have no idea what was going on at the time? They have no fucking clue. 15 was supposed to come out on September 30th. It didn't. Okay, my copy of Kingsglaive didn't come to me in September 30th like it fucking should have. Right. So instead, they're like, okay, we're still going to release Kingsglaive. You can buy it for $16. Like, oh, so I can buy it, but I can't fucking rent it for one day? One cocksucking day to watch this fucking movie? I have to buy it, and then I get it again? Like, what the fuck? And if I wouldn't have bought it, I'd be waiting until November fucking 30th to watch this thing. Like, what the hell, man? What is their fucking problem? Like, and then you tell me that you could have rented it for $6. I'm like, fuck that. I would have done that. I would have rented it because I'm gonna get a physical copy of this fucking thing, and I'm gonna have it on the PlayStation.
I didn't try it on the PlayStation. I don't know what the rent.
I tried it on Amazon at the time, and it wasn't available.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck, man? I want to watch this. I don't want to buy it twice. So it's just a fuck fest when it comes to the release of this movie, this game, and it just bugs me.
All right.
I hate the fact that they wouldn't let me rent it in the beginning. They're like, oh no, you can buy it. You can help fund the fucking movie again. Not pleased with the fact that I'm gonna have 2 copies of Kingsglaive.
Well, one's a digital, one's a...
Yeah.
Well, it might be physical, it might be digital.
Yeah, if it's fucking digital in the game, I'm gonna lose it, man. If they give me a fucking code, a product code, I am gonna lose my shit at Square Enix.
I would agree.
And they're gonna hate us for it. Cease and desist will come our way.
Oh no, don't say those things. You're going to jinx it.
We'll just call it UFF.
All right, so we got some questions.
All right, so Shinru says, did you watch the after credits scene? Yes, we did. Did we catch any Easter eggs in the movie? Sure.
I think so.
Thoughts on Ultros? Completely unnecessary. Cool to see him.
I thought the part where the guy gets like grabbed from behind by the giant squid, which by the way comes out of nowhere. Like there's no like, oh, there might be a giant squid on this ship. It's just suddenly Nix is like, oh shit, there's something that's gonna happen in the next 5 seconds because I get a bad feeling.
Yeah.
And then suddenly like this giant squid hand comes behind this other Kingsglaive dude and just like rips him away and then like bangs him up and down the
and then it throws another
hallway.
guy and he just like shatters on the wall.
That was awesome.
Yeah, Ultros was cool.
In like a corny monster movie kind of way.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, but like he said, nothing to really take seriously. What do you think about the FF7 looking weapons? I thought those were really cool.
Yeah, those were cool.
Did you catch the Bank of Spear logos? There are some references to other FF games too. I didn't see those.
Didn't see that either. I didn't watch it 5 times. I'm sorry, Shinro.
Was Sean Bean great or was Sean Bean great? He was so humble at the premiere and kind of nervous. The FF fans loved him. Yeah, he was good. It was good stuff. Did you catch the Knights of the Round mention in the movie credits?
Knights of the Round mentioned in the movie credits.
No, I didn't see
I didn't
that.
read the movie credits.
The whole 15 has seemed Knights of the Round-esque anyway, with his swords, like him stopping the swords midair, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I know that's... I don't know. I didn't catch it. Okay, how about that? What was the part of the film that made you go, okay, no matter what anyone says, I think this part is awesome?
There was a part where the two guys were fighting, Nix and Glaucoma, and there was a part where they were fighting and the two monsters were fighting behind them. There was like one shot where they were both in the frame and it was like slow motion. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite scene too. It was good. Let's see, which action scene was your favorite? Same answer. Thoughts on the gods? I thought it was cool. They're kind of dicks.
I'm excited to see more of that in FF15.
Yeah, I
know what
like
that's all about.
I like the lore that we're getting teased with
Yeah.
so far. Were the villains good at making you hate them?
No,
I didn't really hate Colonel
Not really.
Sanders.
I didn't even hate. Yeah, Colonel Sanders. I just kind of felt like, oh, this is the bad empire, and thus these are bad people.
Yeah.
It was kind of simplistic in that way.
I feel like they're gonna try to go even more Game of Thrones-esque, where
Well, I
it's
hope
not
they do.
good and bad. It's just two people fighting. And sure, the Niflheim is a little more evil, but they're still human. Hopefully, they do good storytelling. Is what I'm saying, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And not just this guy is bad, guy are bad. Kefka is just completely insane. Great villain, but very two-dimensional in that way. And I think they did a good job making me dislike the one guy, the dude with the hat and the wing, because he looks like a fucking idiot, but that's just something that auto happens. Thoughts on the ring? Ring is also cool. I think it's cool. Good idea.
The ring is, they took a line out of Star Wars and a scene from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, good times. We're moving from Star Wars to Lord of the Rings. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It's good stuff to
Times
rip off.
are changing.
There is a question I would like to ask, but it might spoil other games that you have not played yet, but they are alluded to this film. It's very surprising and I have high hopes. So he didn't ask the question.
Okay.
All right, so Nox says, I think Shinru technically asked this, but I was curious if you liked or didn't like the references to old games. Specifically, what did you think of Ultros and Diamond Weapon playing large parts in the movie?
I thought Diamond Weapon as like a giant battle robot, because I think Diamond Weapon is like a living thing in 7.
Yeah, it's kind of that way.
It's kind of that way. But in this, it's part of their like gigantic robot mech army or whatever.
I mean, the thing
And
in-
it's sweet.
The weapons in 7 are sort of living creatures, but they are very single-minded in that way. Like you just have to destroy them. They're just meant to protect the planet, so they are sort of organic, but they have like a sort of hive mind with one objective in mind and stopping destruction on a wide scale. So it is a contrast and a compare, I guess. I thought they were cool as well.
Yeah, he was cool. Cerberus was really cool when he showed up.
Oh
in
yeah,
the movie.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
For him, he didn't really care. He really enjoyed it. Additionally, Ultros was hardly himself in the movie. He was just a monster in there. In FF6, he spoke and had more character. Regardless, it didn't really bother me. Others were really bothered by it, though, so I figured I'd ask. Yeah, it doesn't bug me.
I wasn't bothered.
I don't think it's necessary, but it's not something that I'm going to be like...
Look, the Final Fantasy series, if you've gone through the whole series, they reuse stuff, and they just kind of, like, they put a new skin on it, or they take the old skin and they put it on a new creature, or something like that. It doesn't always have to be the same thing. Just because a thing that looks like Ultros was in the movie, and of course we're going to call it Ultros because it looks like Ultros, it doesn't mean that it has to be the Ultros character from FF6.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Strike Knight. Knights of the Round is the old wall. Yeah, the king things. That's the Knights of the Round, the statues.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at.
Okay. That wasn't clear for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But... All right, so we did have another thread that was Kingsglaive spoilers, but so we do have a little review in here, at least one so far. Will said he enjoyed it overall. He's glad we got the movie, but agreed. The motives of the traitors and Luna's brother really didn't make any sense to me. The whole deal with that rebel group as well inside Insomnia, the one that Liberus joined, seemed pretty weak. Definitely.
Yep, I agree. All right. Well, thank you guys for your correspondence. Thank you for listening to this episode of Ultima Final Fantasy. Now, I know it may seem like a bummer because we nitpicked this movie to death, but there's a lot of good things about this movie, and there's a lot of bad. But I do think as a Final Fantasy fan, I think you'll enjoy it. You know, if you got it with 15 and you haven't watched it yet, just wait till it comes with your copy. Don't buy two copies like Schweiss did.
Yeah. The things I do for the show. Right?
But you know, otherwise it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and remember,
I don't think I'm gonna watch it again except for a commentary later on.
Remember, it is the best Final Fantasy movie from a fan standpoint. Okay. Remember that, and don't hate us for what we've said about the movie today. Advent Children, I feel like we've gotten like flack for, and people just don't like it. But it was the complete, and thankfully no one has that one. It's always the regular Advent Children that everyone has. So use that caveat. But you know, the only time we've ever reviewed Advent Children was Wasted, and I don't remember most of it.
It's on Patreon.
It is.
That's right. You can go to patreon.com and support us there if you want. $1 a month gives you the episodes as soon as we're done mixing them, and you get access to that special Advent Children commentary.
Yeah, we're going to do more commentaries in the future that are Patreon exclusive for a time being.
I will not be intoxicated.
No, I will, though.
Okay. You can go to youtube.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. Check us out there. You can go to facebook.com/Ultima Final Fantasy and talk to us on there.
Check out the stream, twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy. You can watch us stream the episodes live and gameplay, although I won't be doing 12 Revenant Wings because I have to send my DS to like some third-party company to mod it to get it done. And I'm like, no.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yes. The Tener Zom chick that I sometimes see on Twitch. Yeah, she told me that's what I had to do. I was like, how the fuck are you streaming your DS? And she's like, oh, I sent it off to this place and they modded it. And I'm like, fuck that. You did that? You did that with your console? Are you serious? So that's not going to happen. But the next game, Final Fantasy XV, I will be streaming. So check that out at twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy.
And, you know, you can tweet me at Joseph DeGolier.
Tweet me at UFF Podcast. And also, guys, Christmas is coming up. If you guys order a bunch of stuff on Amazon, please do it through our link. It helps us out a lot. I checked it, and it's been pretty substantial for the last year. And we're trying to get our poor asses out to KupoCon, and that's the easiest way to help us out. It doesn't cost you anything if you buy your stuff through our Amazon link. It will give us a small percentage, and we will be eternally grateful.
Yes. Yes,
helps
we
us
will
go to these awesome fan events.
And that Amazon link can be found at ultimafinalfantasy.com, where you can also find our forums.
Yes, everything else.
All right, Schweiss. Next week, you know, we'll probably talk about the FF11 add-ons. Thank you guys for listening to this episode.
Yes. Also, real quick, we're going to do that farewell to Final Fantasy XI. So, guys, we're going to be reaching out to you, but if you want to leave us a voicemail, our number is 385-204-3921. Let us know what you thought of 11. Tell us about your experience with it. It's a huge, long-running title that just barely finished its last expansion, so I'm sure a ton of you have had at least some semblance of an experience with this game, and we want to hear it.
Yes.
We'll do a farewell episode for that in the next few weeks.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
Enjoy the grind.
This has been another production of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. The show was produced by Joseph DeGollier and Caleb Schweiss, with music and editing by Joseph DeGollier, parodies and clips from their respective authors, of course. You can get all of our episodes as well as our Let's Plays at ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can also contact us on Twitter at UFF Podcast, as well as our contact page on our website. Be sure to subscribe and review our podcast. Your reviews may get read on the show, and look forward to the next episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.
Yes, Timeverse.
Yes, what?
It did make me more excited for the game, which we did mention.
Yeah, we did.
But yeah, we're both more excited for it.
What
I
else
guess.
does it say on there?
They're wondering about KupoCon, and
What about KupoCon?
I don't know.
You don't know?
They just said KupoCon lol. That doesn't actually mean anything. Joe, did you see The Handmaiden yet? Stolas asks. It's the same guy that did Old Boy.
No, I haven't seen that. No. Is that one new? That sounds like someone told me to watch that, and I haven't seen it yet.
It might be.
Yeah, it might be. No, I haven't seen that. I think the only movie I've seen by that guy is Old Boy. I haven't seen Snowpiercer. I haven't seen his other revenge movies.
Yeah, Old Boy was great,
love
though.
Old Boy, though. I've seen that a couple times.
Yeah.
It's great.
All right, guys, we're gonna get going on Nude Clan. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we will see you again in 1 week's time.